Hey there, it's Chris, and welcome back to the next part of the Final Fantasy V Mid project, where, as you can see, whoop, on the side there, we're continuing our work on the globe. Where for the last 2 hours, we've basically been carving down what was a spherical starting object into now we have all the continents on here, carved down nice and neat. I did take another 40 minutes after the last session to do a second carving down like I'd done on the first two continents here, so now it all kind of reads the same. It actually reads pretty dang well, I'm not going to lie. I'm liking how this is turning out. And today we're going to see if we can add some more detail onto this. And I'm sorry if you can't understand the words coming out of my mouth, because once again I am wearing a mask over here, so yeah, vocalization is what it is. And also my finger is starting to actually show some visual signs of improvement. My nail was probably at the start about 80+% in black and blue. It's now probably down to about 70. But I figure until we get to like that 50-50 range, I'll just keep this thing on here just for looks. You don't need to see this purple thing still on here, but it is actually starting to look better at this point, so that's a big thumbs up on my part. I like that. So today's goal is going to be adding just a little more detail to this. It might work, it might not. If it doesn't, paint will hide everything, so it's all good. But there are a great deal of mountain ranges. Give me 1 second. There's just, well, at least on the sidebar there, you can see our first two continents here. There are a lot of mountain ranges and stuff on here. So I'm going to try to recreate some of those on here very subtly. Again, we don't have that much of a reveal to work with on this. But I'm going to kind of carve down. I've already gone ahead. You can see on here, I've drawn anything that's shaded is mountain. You can see on the image on the side there, that big yellow spot, the desert. That's this guy. So we have a whole lot of mountain range down there. We have a whole lot of mountain range up here. And there's kind of mountain ranges everywhere on this. So what I'm going to do is do a light kind of carving down around the outside and see if we can just kind of rough up the mountains themselves and see how it works. That said, I do have a couple of tools. I got this guy back. So I'm feeling good. We have our the saw there. And I have a new shop vac for after this because the other one decided to die, which was super uncool, I'm not going to lie. So hopefully we can make this look clean afterwards because that wasn't too great before. But yeah, let's go start with the main event. We'll start with the big continents like I did before. They're probably the easiest. They're the big honkin' pieces of mountain range. We're going to start with them. Then once we do that, we'll get down into the finer ones. But here we go. Just going to carve down just a little bit. Because again, I don't want this, the goal isn't to have this read the same as the oceans. I do want to still say above the ocean. So I'm just kind of tracing the outline of the mountain with this. We'll go sand down like the pastures, the forests, the deserts, and all that. And we're going to use this to kind of just make some striations and whatnot and just kind of rough this up a little bit. Like I said, if it works, that's good. If it doesn't, this is all going to be painted, and I can do this with paint. It's just if I have the opportunity, I'd like to learn something on the carving side, and I can see if this works, if this doesn't. But it's also partly why I'm showing this whole process, because some decisions we make when doing these are just so we can get practice seeing what we can and can't get away with for future projects. So this is one of those where if it works, that's cool. If it doesn't work, I can learn something for later. And you might as well learn something too if something like this works or doesn't work. Might as well pass that on. Why not? Alright, so we got our quote-unquote North American continent there kind of outlined. So we're working on South America here, although, as I think I stated in the previous one, that is a gigantic insult to North and South America by calling them that. But I am on camera. I'm kind of on camera. That's kind of a win. We take those kind of wins. Oh, this desert. This desert is so not cool to cut out at this scale. Okay, got the desert. This is also nice because if we can't, even if I lose the pencil marks of where stuff are, this at least gives me a kind of a visual outside of something that's easily erasable that I can go off of. Oh, we come all the way down here. Yes, again, not going deep, just going enough to separate the two areas, and nothing really more. Alright, and that gets those parts out. So I'm going to take you out, and we're going to sand down, hopefully just a little bit, because again, we don't want to confuse these areas with the ocean parts. So I'm going to try to start with an easy section first, and then go from there. A little more. More power! Need more power! As with before, we can do a little bit of trickery on this and kind of angle down towards the mountain range a little bit, while leaving some of the other stuff up just a little. Alright, let's get this little desert here in the middle. Getting a little desert here with the big drum sander is a little awkward. Woo! Where'd we go? There we are. Yeah, really, once we get these details done, then we're in the painting phase. And that'll be good. That'll be finished this whole section off. And again, unlike the clay models, we don't need to worry about hardening this. We don't need to worry about anything. We can just straight up paint this right away. And before we get those orbits on here, we really do want to paint these things kind of right away. Because once we start doing the orbit stuff, it's going to be hard to get a paintbrush in here to do anything. Okay, now it's starting to feel like it sinks down just a little bit. Don't need it to sink much down. I do need it to be at least a little bit below what these mountains are going to be. Now again, the mountains aren't going to be depicted as being tall entities on here. They're more just going to be a roughed up area. Or at least that's kind of my plan. We're going to see how that turns out. I'm not really sure. We're going to be learning stuff together on this one. I moved myself up a little bit. Okay, we're getting there. I said, I'll do the entirety of this one first. We'll see how long this takes to do. And then we can always jump on the other. Alright, what do we have left? We have that here. I'm actually surprised there's not that much dust yet kind of collecting on any of this stuff, so yay to that. Hey, wrong way, wrong way, wrong way. Okay. So we've now submerged some of these little areas. Where are we? There we are on the camera. I'm looking at the computer screen and this. We submerged a couple of these little spots. And we're going to see what we can do to rough up these mountain ranges. Now, the game itself is built on a grid, because again, this is Super Famicom, SNES kind of era. Everything is pretty much built on grids. So I could just kind of go across, make a couple lines there, come down, make a couple lines here. And that would kind of give the effect of the game. So maybe we'll start with that and kind of see how it goes. I'm not sure. This is going to be a big experiment. So see what happens. So I'm going to go kind of an angle, just so I can kind of I apologize if that's kind of away from you. So far, not looking too great, but well, that kind of gets the idea across. I don't know if you can see it super well on here, but it does have some texture to it for sure. Yeah, I'm being very kind of loose with my cutting here. I'm not doing really any kind of hard decision, just kind of being real loose, just kind of nice and easy. Now our goal is just kind of take that main grid we have away. Believe me, I'm being very mindful of my thumb is right there. And it gets the point across. It's subtle. I'm not sure it even captures on camera very well, but it has a texture to it when you try to feel it. When you do kind of feel it with your hand, it has that texture. And again, when you get to painting phase, we can paint that up and make it look, well, it's going to be kind of a muddy paint job. Like I said before, it's going to be a really, button? There we go. It's going to be a really kind of muddy paint job anyway. But I can give it like a little bit of maybe snow caps or something on top, kind of bring a little bit of white in there, have a little more darker green here, maybe like a lighter kind of bluish green. It'll be kind of greenish everywhere. Probably like a bluish green on the water, just kind of a regular green kind of anywhere else, maybe like a whitish green for the mountains or something, or a browner green for the mountains or something like that. And that will help kind of bring the whole thing together and make it all work. That said, that is all we need on those continents there. I suppose this island here is a mountainous island. I do want to make sure we have the edges of this where it kind of comes down to the water. It kind of looks like a little bit of a mountain too. So it's not just, so I don't want to just get the top side, we need kind of the bottom here where the things actually meet the water. Might be good. How are we doing on time? 19 minutes. Dang, that's going faster than I thought. Okay, is there any like smaller areas? Not really. Not really. All right, here we go. Yes, I feel like this is turning into one of these times where you're not going to see much of a difference on your end, but in real life you're going to be able to see some of these things, or at least have a tactile feel, if nothing else, of some of these areas quite a bit better. But it is what it is. Again, even in real life, I'm not adding that much value, quote unquote, to this. But like I said, it's an experiment. I'm rolling this thing off the camera. Awesome. I've been a little busy today. I actually got the latest running video done for the ultra stuff, so I'm actually down a week ahead of that one, because that's not due until next Sunday. And yeah, it's Monday right now. But I figured I had off today, so I had time to do it. And again, the reason I have off today This got a 6-day work week last week because we were installing that gigantic bay window and needed a day when everyone could get there and all the friends and stuff were free. So because I had the 6-day week last week, I now have the Monday off today. So been trying to get ahead of the game a little bit. I'm getting one of these things recorded today. I got that thing recorded today. Went shopping, got the new shop vac. Needed that. So it's been kind of getting a bunch of little odds and end things kind of done. Some errands kind of run kind of day. But we get these kind of days every now and again. They happen. Okay, so we got there. I feel like I'm missing stuff. I am. I think that can't be it. There's got to be more. There's a lot of stuff going on in this area. I can't forget this little part. This little patch of land inside the mountains was important in the game for some reason. I forget what it is. I should probably play this game again. I've gone through a lot of the other Final Fantasy games within the last year. Around this time last year, I went through and did the full playthrough of Final Fantasy X, the original one, where I went and actually took down Nemesis, which is where 10 finishes off on that. I don't have the newer version. I only have the original version of the game, so it stops at Nemesis as the super boss. And I also went through Final Fantasy I and Final Fantasy II over the summer. Now I went through Final Fantasy XII just this last 2 months, went through that. So I've been doing a lot of Final Fantasies, so maybe I should do 5 and just kind of throw it into the mix, because why not? Can figure out why some of these are... All I remember was the airship is from down here. The airship and the... whatever, the ancient library is right around up here. I think the ship of Karnak, whatever is the fire ship, is up in there somewhere. I have vague memories of where some things are, but not 100%. Even though I look on the screen, if I come back to this guy, if you go to the far side and I turn the webcam off, yes, it labels where all the stuff is on the side, but I'm too lazy to look at that right now. I'm busy. Got stuff to do. Although in reality, if I were to play one again, it would probably be something like, or at least like one of the 2D ones again, it would probably be something like a Final Fantasy IV or whatnot, something that's really short, easy, just kind of a comfy game. I have very good and very bad memories of that one. Final Fantasy IV, aka Final Fantasy II, as it was released in the US back in 1992, I believe, was the very first RPG I ever played. Like in my life ever. And at the age that I was when we got it, I had no idea how RPGs functioned. So I remember getting walled at Rubicant later on in the game without realizing that I'd made it that far in the game while never knowing you can equip people with equipment and armor and weapons and all that. So somehow I made it through the game to that point and just got absolutely walled. And I think I basically threw that game down. Didn't want to touch it again for years because it was just so super frustrating. Oh, to be a kid again. That'd be awesome. But other than that, I really do like that game. That game's awesome. The music is great. The artwork is great. The concept art is great. It's just a nice, comfy, it's a very short RPG, but it's a nice kind of comfy one. Yeah. Let's see, I want to make sure I'm carving the right side of this thing, yes. I have gone through 5 a number of times. It's just been a while. And by the time I did go through it the first time, I think I might have been in college by that point. And so I don't really have the same kind of nostalgia memory of it. Because if you were to play like Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy VI, the 2 I had when I was growing up and I was a kid, you get all the nostalgia memories for those types of things. You remember everything that's in those games. At that age, whatever you're interested in, you just absorb everything. So I have a lot in my head on those. But 5 I didn't play until much, much later. So I don't have the same kind of nostalgia kick for this one that I did on the others. I still think it's really fun. I don't think it's as strong in the music department or the graphics department as the other ones. But yeah, it's just that lack of nostalgia for it is kind of rough when going back. Although at the same time, that means if I do ever want to go back to it, I can keep playing it in different ways than I did before. Because the other ones, because of that nostalgia, you kind of want to go back and relive those memories, so you kind of play things the same way you used to, if that makes sense. I know there are a number of guys online like, oh no, if you go back again, you have to do it differently. But it's like, if I go back to certain things again, you go there to regain some of that kind of nostalgia feeling. And to regain it means you kind of go through the same motions. So, in a way, some of those games, 4 and 6, can become kind of stale in that regard. But, whatever. Let's see, we have a few. Let's not forget this little outcropping. I know when I get to texturing these mountains, I'm going to be texturing stuff that is not supposed to be textured, but we'll just deal with that. Yeah, so something like 4 might be the next kind of 2D Final Fantasy I can see myself doing. Probably like 9 or something might be the next 3D one I would go into, if only because I've never done the super boss in 9, the Ozma. And part of the reason I went back into Final Fantasy X last year was I wanted to give the Nemesis thing a chance. Because growing up, I never did like the super bosses on any of these games. And now part of me going back is curious on those types of situations. So Ozma is one that would be interesting to go back to, because I know nothing about it. I've never seen it done online. I've never seen anybody play it. I understand there's like a trick to doing it and getting it done and actually beating it, but I have no idea what that is. So that one would be kind of fresh and blind. I did just do the eyes of that part. I really wanted that in Final Fantasy XII. And yeah, that fight was a gigantic beast. It took about 7.5 hours to beat the guy from start to finish. And thankfully you can save the game partway through as many times as you want, because otherwise that wasn't going to happen in a single city. That took like a week. I remember just kind of sitting down and going like, well, here we go. We're going to do it. And yes, in a way it's kind of like a gigantic waste of time. But at the same time, it just, I don't know, feels good being able to say I did it. I did it. I don't do the retro Chivo thing. I'm not getting like trophies and stuff for doing it online. I'm not bragging to people online going, oh yeah, I did that. But I did it. The isomat is down. It happened. Okay, so now when it comes to carving out these mountains, I'm going to 100% carve out something I'm not supposed to. I can almost guarantee I'm going to hit something that's not supposed to. Okay, do we have a smaller... Much of Crescent Island is... And again, if we have areas that go down to the sea, we want to have at least a little carve that goes down kind of to the sea. Alright, we have a little thing here. I like seeing little kind of... I like starting on little ranges and stuff first. It's like you get something accomplished and you feel like, okay, I've accomplished something. Now I can move on to something bigger. I can't believe only a half hour has gone by. I'm either being far more productive than I thought, or I don't know what's happened, but time is not exactly flying right now. Probably as time flies, you're having fun, but it is not flying right now. Oh, where does this... Oh, that thing goes. That thing goes... Oh, God. Okay, yeah. This mountain range goes places. Let's maybe move my finger out of the way there. Yeah. Okay, you know, I see what's going on there. Let's maybe do this in parts. Although I'll admit, these are somewhat big parts. Alright, now we give our little diagonals. Essentially all we're doing is cross-hatching this. And it is having the effect I want. It's just breaking it up, adding a little bit of texture. It's all we really need, just a little bit of texture to go with this. Yet I'm not sure how well any of this is reading on camera. So if this isn't reading it at all on here, I apologize for that. But again, I don't know how much of a visual difference it makes, but it does make a tactile difference. But by the time this thing gets all like the planets and orbits and all that type of stuff go around it, a tactile difference may not make any difference whatsoever in the end. But Once again, kind of wherever we come down to the ocean, give a little bit of something. Okay, I see it. Turn that off just to get my first second here. Merce needs a little, just a minute here. Then all we have left is this little snake guy that comes up and into that, and then we in there. But yeah, again, I'm not sure how well this reads. It's gonna take a little bit of kind of probably cleaning up. We'll get a piece of sandpaper and all that between this section and the next. Then next time we're gonna come and we're gonna get onto painting this thing. But I will finish this now on camera because I can't believe, yeah, it's only been 38 minutes and that's it. So I feel like I've done quite a bit in a 38-minute span. All right, here we go. Oh, I need to feel the edge of this thing to find out where it goes. That's... Alright, so that went down there. Now I know if you're a Final Fantasy V purist, you'll realize a lot of these mountains that I'm doing are not at all representative 100% of how the actual world is formed. Again, I made just as it came to making the map and trying to transfer that 2D plane image onto a 3D sphere, there are some decisions that were made in designating some of these areas as mountains. So there is some of that going on. Alright, final part of the crosshatch here. Nope, not quite done yet. Not quite done yet. Once again, some of these areas kind of come into the water, so I want to give little kind of attention to that. Those are already in there. Okay. And that's kind of that. That's really all I wanted. This is, like I said, it's very, very kind of rough on here. But we do have a little more visual interest. We have some more tactile interest. If we want to paint this, this now gives a little more of something I can go off of for painting. I can now have a visual and a tactile feel on where to put the brush on certain colors and whatnot. But no, that's what I wanted on this. I'm going to go kind of clean things up off camera, do a little kind of rough, kind of light sanding on the sides here, kind of get the ocean a little more neat and whatnot, and get this working, looking a little, getting all dust out, looking a little better. And then next time what's this going to be, like session 4 or whatever? We're going to be on painting already. Going pretty quick. And then after that, hopefully my stuff that I ordered is supposed to come in tomorrow. Then we can start getting, I'm going to figure out how I want to do the orbits of the planets and all that. And then we'll go from there. But yeah, I figure the rest of this week is going to be dedicated towards getting this globe done. Then probably the next week after, the next 2 sessions will be dedicated to the painting this, getting it looking good. And then the week after we'll be starting the next stage. But yeah, no, we're getting somewhere. Looking like something. And let's get on something that's visually interesting to give a final kind of send off on. And until next time, and until then, enjoy.